Have you ever caught yourself saying, I billed 80 hours this week? Or I was online until 1 a.m. And instead of feeling embarrassed, you feel a little proud. In law, those aren't just meaningless moments. They're badges of honor, proof you belong. Today, I want to talk about why we wear these badges, what they're really costing us, and some alternative options you might test out instead. The kind that signal leadership without grinding you down. Welcome to the Lawyer Burnout Solution, the podcast for women attorneys who want to stay in the careers they've worked so hard to build without running themselves into the ground. I'm Heather Mills, and every week I share tools, strategies, and mindset shifts to help you reclaim your energy, confidence, and career. So we're talking about pushing up against systems today, and I get it that change is hard when we're talking about these big systems, especially these systems built on tradition, hierarchy, and relentless output. But every systemic shift starts with a few individuals willing to test what's possible. You've probably heard a colleague or yourself say things like, I billed more hours than anyone else this month. Translation, I matter because I'm producing more than anyone else. I'm always available. Call me anytime. What that's really signaling is, I prove commitment by never being off the clock. I haven't taken a real vacation in years. The subtext here is, I prove my loyalty by pushing through without breaks. I answered that partner's email at 11 p.m. Underneath what it's saying is, I show I'm dependable by responding at any hour. I said yes to 3 urgent matters in the same week. What this badge is meant to prove is I show I can carry more than anyone else. And if we're honest, these sound a lot like things we tell ourselves every day, like, I just need to get through this week, or I can't drop any balls, or if I don't stay on top of everything, I'll fall behind. They don't just describe how busy we are. They're part of the cultural code. And here's the tricky part. Not everyone experiences these badges as bragging rights. Many lawyers, many women lawyers especially, don't walk around feeling proud of overwork. They feel like they're still not doing enough. They'll say, I'm exhausted, but I can't stop. Or I feel like I'm failing at everything, even though I'm getting it all done. That sense of never enough is just another version of the badge system. It's the flip side of the same conditioning. Proving you belong by showing you can keep up no matter the cost. Each badge carries a hidden cost. The vacation not taken drains creativity. The midnight emails train others to expect constant access. The overstuffed week leaves little room for strategy. And that constant sense of falling behind, that's another cost. It keeps you in survival mode, even when you're performing at a high level. And it's worth asking, what are we really bragging about or beating ourselves up about? Resilience or self-neglect? And the profession rewards us for it. You get the positive reviews, the bigger cases, maybe faster advancement. So of course we learn the code. Of course we do. I'll admit I wore these badges too. I remember bragging to a colleague once about how little I'd slept that week. Half joking, half proud. It didn't feel unhealthy at the time. It felt like belonging. So if you're listening and thinking, yeah, I've done that, or you're thinking, I don't do enough, I'm barely keeping up, you're not alone. You're simply responding to the environment you're in. So why do these patterns hold so much power? 3 reasons. The first is identity training. From law school on, the message is clear. Self-sacrifice equals worth. That's how we create our worth, by sacrificing ourselves. The second are cultural cues. Partners tell war stories about all-nighters like they're campfire legends. And the third is optics and fear. If you're not visibly all in, it feels risky. These are reflections of the larger forces at play: patriarchy, capitalism, law culture that teaches us sacrifice equals value. Law just happens to deliver those lessons in long hours, late night emails, and endless billables. And for many women lawyers, it doesn't feel like overwork at all. It feels like not doing enough. You might look at your packed calendar and still think, I'm falling behind. I should be doing more. That's part of the conditioning too. The constant sense that no matter how much you give, it's still not enough. So when you find yourself bragging about billables or sleepless nights, or beating yourself up that you aren't doing more, it's not something you need to feel ashamed about. It makes sense. You're responding to the system. And that's important to name because you didn't create these rules. You inherited them. In other words, these habits are really about proving something to yourself, to your colleagues, to the system. But it's worth asking, stopping and asking, proving what? And at what cost? We latch onto badges of honor because they're visible, tangible, and easy for others to notice. But the costs, they're quieter. So let's name a few. The first is mental fog. When you're exhausted, your brain can't track nuance. You just push through. The second cost is crowded out priorities. Saying yes to everything squeezes out the work that actually matters. You find yourself spinning your wheels doing work that doesn't move the needle on anything important. The third is relationship erosion. When you're always on, people start to expect it. They do expect it, and it causes problems both at work and at home. The fourth cost is shaky self-trust. Every override of your body's signals chips away at your ability to trust your own decision-making about what's best for you. So let's just recap those main costs of using these badges of honor to prove something. Number 1, mental fog. Number 2, crowded out priorities. Number 3, relationship erosion. And number 4, shaky self-trust. For some of you, these costs look like waking up already exhausted, or realizing your shoulders are permanently clenched, or lying awake at 3 a.m., mind racing. That's not resilience. It's your body telling you it's running out of reserves. One client, let's call her Sophia. She kept saying yes until she was staffed on 3 urgent matters at once. She prided herself on being indispensable. She was spinning her wheels. Once she started blocking out 2 90-minute focus sessions each day, her drafts came back with fewer edits, and she started leaving earlier. So these patterns didn't start with you. They're part of the system. But the good news is that you can run your own small tests, small experiments that show there's another way. You might not overhaul firm culture overnight. In fact, you probably won't. But you can try one shift, measure the outcome, and share the results. Or just keep track of them for yourself. This way you get to think of these habits, new habits to create, as something to experiment with. They're not permanent declarations about how nothing works or change is impossible. Just ways to try things out. So I want to give you a few ideas for how you can experiment and try things out for yourself. All of these aren't going to work for you. Try one of them that you think might work. So the first experiment is to set clear boundaries when deadlines come up. And I'm not talking about deadlines for courts. I'm talking about internal deadlines where there's like this faux sense of urgency. And what you can do is offer 2 different delivery options. So it might be, I can get you an outline tonight or a rough draft tomorrow. The second experiment is choosing deep work over busy work. So what you're going to do is protect 2 90-minute focus blocks this week. Treat them like you would a court appearance. The third experiment is to create predictable availability. Let your team or the people around you know that you respond to emails between 10 and 12 and 2 and 4, or Slack messages or whatever it is. This protects you from that context switching that we're all doing all the time that really drains our energy and our time. Experiment 4 is about data-backed capacity. Track your time for 2 weeks. And I know you're really good at tracking your time, probably, but I'm not talking about just your billable time. Track everything. And then, depending on your role, decide for yourself or bring your partner 3 options. Reprioritize deadlines, redistribute work, or adjust the timeline. Experiment 5 is thinking of recovery as strategy. So protect a consistent sleep schedule and one daily reset, like a walk, a short workout, or a 10-minute pause away from screens. You need time for your body to recover with sleep and whatever helps you reset. And this isn't just common sense. The American Bar Association has flagged lawyers as one of the most sleep-deprived groups of professionals. Deloitte research shows sleep directly improves memory, decision-making, problem-solving. So protecting your sleep window isn't slacking. It's actually doing your job better. Not every experiment will get applause. Sometimes boundaries get pushback. But over time, consistent leadership with boundaries and evidence and study follow-through, that can build trust. Even slow change starts with a single thoughtful experiment. So just to recap, the 5 experiments are: number 1, clear boundaries with delivery options. Number 2, protecting deep focus blocks of time. Number 3, setting predictable response times to emails or Slack. Number 4, tracking your real capacity and adjusting. And 5, protecting your sleep and rest and recovery activities. One person shifting habits can seem small, but when enough people model sustainable, high-quality work, norms begin to shift. It's not just you helping yourself, it's quiet cultural change. You might be surprised who starts to follow your lead next. So if those experiments feel like too much right now, you can start simpler by changing your thoughts and noticing how that shifts your emotions and the actions you take. So for example, here's an old thought that might come up for you. If I don't say yes, I'll disappoint someone. That might make you feel anxious and guilty. And that leads to you agreeing immediately and working late. So to change that, you start with changing your thought. So change that thought, that old one, if I don't say yes, I'll disappoint someone, to a new thought like, leaders protect their ability to create quality work. That might make you feel confident or calm. And that leads to actions like offering 2 delivery options in terms of timelines, or blocking focus time, or protecting your sleep schedule. Try this new thought once a day for a week and see how it shifts something for you, your emotions, and the actions you're willing to take. So here it is again. Leaders protect their ability to create quality work. Notice what shifts. So my clients have conducted these small types of experiments. Usually they come up with them, what they think might work. So one client tested blocking her mornings for drafting. At first, her partner brushed it off. Fine, just make sure you send it to me when I need it. But when she circled back the next week about her block of time, she said to the partner, when I block focus time, my drafts come back with fewer edits. And that landed for the partner. That partner got it now, okay. Over time, even reluctant colleagues started respecting her boundaries. I know this stuff sounds so simple, you guys, I really do. But we have to be willing to try these different things out instead of just thinking, this is just the way it is. I can't do it any way differently. Another lawyer I worked with committed to logging off by 10 p.m. instead of pushing past midnight like she usually did. And she told me later I was sharper the next morning and nobody even noticed I wasn't online. And that's the thing. Sometimes the story we tell ourselves about being needed at all hours isn't actually true. And sometimes the shift is as simple as naming what works. One client said, when I stop multitasking and protect my focus, my work gets cleaner and faster. Simple, but it changed how she thought about the values she was bringing. That's how culture shifts, not in one clean moment, but through persistence evidence, and small wins that build credibility. In law, we've been taught to wear overwork like a badge of honor. And it makes sense, that's the system. But the patterns that sustain excellence look different. Boundaries, focus, steadiness, sustainable pace, and real rest. This week, try just one shift. Notice the outcomes and share what worked and what didn't. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Remember to be kind to yourself this week, and I'll see you next time. And if you want help choosing which experiment makes the most sense for you, there's a link in the show notes where you can book a short call with me. We'll map out where you are now, what's draining you most, and 1 or 2 practical shifts you can test in your own practice.